For the Minnesota Vikings, two players are at opposite ends of the hierarchy, but both could play decisive roles in 2025. On one side, a tiny rookie, almost dismissed due to his physical stature, who is trying to make a name for himself with explosive returns. On the other, one of the best left tackles in the NFL, whose return from injury has become a question mark that could affect the entire season for rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy. If you want to understand the behind the scenes of this preseason and what's really at stake for the Vikings offense and special teams, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and stick around until the end, because today's analysis goes deep. Silas Bolden is, at first glance, everything an NFL coach doesn't want to see in a wide receiver. At just 5'7" inches and 160 pounds, he seems more like a flag football player than an athlete in the world's top league. His RAS, a metric that evaluates physical and athletic attributes, was a modest 2.69. In other words, he's small, light, and not very explosive in physical tests. And yet, the Vikings decided to invest. They secured $205,000 for him to sign as an undrafted free agent, a high amount for a non-drafted player. The question remains, why? The answer lies in the hidden numbers and the glaring needs of the team itself. Bolden is one of the most efficient returners in the recent college class. In 2023, playing for Oregon State, he averaged 27.2 yards per kickoff return, the best in the conference. Over his entire college career, he accumulated 12.5 yards per punt return, and these weren't just volume statistics. He returned 2 touchdowns, one against Arizona State during the college football playoff and the other during his last year at Oregon. It's this history of big plays on special teams that put Bolden on the Vikings' radar, a franchise that finished last in the NFL in average punt return yards in 2024, just 6.8 yards, and second to last in kickoff returns. The last time the team scored a punt return touchdown was in 2016 with Marcus Sherrills. In other words, nearly a decade ago. Bolden, despite his limitations, could be the answer to this technical void, and the timing is interesting. In 2025, the NFL instituted a new kickoff rule where touchbacks place the ball at the 35-yard line. This encourages more returns and increases the importance of having someone explosive in this role. The Vikings know this, and they want to take advantage. Today, he's competing for a spot with names like Isaiah Rodgers, Ty Chandler, Jalen Nailor, and the newly arrived Rondale Moore, who has similar characteristics but a history of injuries. The competition is tough, but the number of players on the roster doesn't guarantee quality, and that's precisely where Bolden can win, in execution. It's worth noting that he's not just a return specialist. As a wide receiver, Bolden had a good 2023. He racked up 830 yards and 7 touchdowns on 63 touches for Oregon State. In total, he had 103 receptions and 15 scrimmage touchdowns in his college career, 5 of them rushing the ball. Coach Kevin O'Connell has already indicated that versatile players will have a place in the offense, especially for dynamic rotations at the bottom of the roster. His ideal scenario: enter the NFL as the primary returner, secure 1 or 2 explosive plays in the first weeks, and with that, carve out an offensive gadget role in screens, sweeps, and special packages. It's a narrow path, but not impossible. The Vikings know they need differentiators, and while the wide receiver group already has established names like Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and even Rondale Moore, Bolden could stand out where no one is looking, in the margins, on the return game, in the third phase of play. That's how many specialists entered and stayed in the NFL, and if the team's current need in this area is any indication, Bolden already starts with a slight advantage. But all the hope the franchise places in explosive plays could be quickly nullified if something much more serious isn't resolved: the protection of their rookie quarterback. And at this point, the concern is real. The name is Christian Darrisaw, and the concern surrounding him could change the Vikings' entire planning for 2025. The left tackle, considered one of the 5 best in the league at his position, is recovering from a very serious injury: a torn anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, and a torn medial collateral ligament, MCL, during a game against the Los Angeles Rams last October. Surgery done, recovery in progress. But according to The Athletic, thinking he'll be ready for week 1 is too optimistic, and that's no small matter. Darrisaw is the anchor of the blind side of the offensive line. He is directly responsible for protecting J.J. McCarthy, the rookie from Michigan and future hope of the franchise, against the most dangerous pass rushers in the NFL. Without him, McCarthy's margin for error is drastically reduced, and for a rookie quarterback, that's practically a recipe for instability. Coach Kevin O'Connell publicly praised Darrisaw's progress. He said the player is killing it in individual drills, that the recovery has been exemplary, and that the staff is excited. excited, but behind the words, there's caution. The Vikings brought in Justin Skol, formerly of the Buccaneers, as a possible starter in the early weeks. This doesn't happen by chance. Skol is not a player of the same caliber. He is a reliable professional, yes, but he has never established himself as a definitive starter wherever he has been. The plan is clear. Hold Darrisaw until he is 100%, even if that means sacrificing a few games at the beginning of the season. The positive side is that the Vikings' offensive line is stronger inside. With reinforcements and continuity in the interior of the OL, McCarthy will have at least stability in the middle, something essential for rookies. But without secure blindside protection, the quarterback's reading speed will need to increase. This impacts the playbook, the player's confidence, and how the team calls longer passing plays. And there's an important psychological factor here. McCarthy is coming in with momentum. He was a high draft pick, generated excitement among fans, and has leadership qualities. But if he starts the season taking hits due to a lack of adequate protection, that enthusiasm could turn into trauma, and the Vikings know this, hence the hesitation to rush Darrisaw back. If the player can return healthy by week 3 or 4 and regain the form that put him in the NFL Elite in 2023, McCarthy will have everything to grow with confidence. But if the injury lingers, or worse, if he returns too early and exacerbates the problem, the entire offensive season for the team could collapse. The Minnesota Vikings enter 2025 with two quiet but fundamental battles. The first is for explosiveness and advantage in special teams, where Silas Bolden attempts to prove himself even without ideal physical attributes. The second, and much more critical, is for the protection of their new quarterback, with Christian Darrisaw still uncertain for the start of the season. How the team handles these two situations could very well define the ceiling and the floor of the franchise in this new post-Kirk Cousins era. Question for the fans: would you risk Darrisaw in week 1 to protect JJ McCarthy even with the risk of a setback? And do you believe Silas Bolden can really earn a spot on this roster? If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like, share your opinion in the comments, and subscribe to the channel to keep up with everything about the Vikings and this preseason that promises to bring much tougher decisions than they seem. Until next time.